before that in a marketing position, so I kind of learned the business that way.
Got it. So jumping over to the forward side, what has been what's been the biggest paradigm shift for you? Just the fact that your clientele is, a lot younger?
Yeah, I mean, it's learning the guidelines has been a struggle. I'm pretty confident in them now. Yeah, it's definitely a whole different clientele. The lead time is completely different. With the reverse is it was sometimes 5 years before a deal closed, whereas here you're a couple months usually. So
right. So when you talk about being in a marketing position, did you actually go out and produce the leads for the branch, or did you actually just prepare the media and documentation and stuff to generate leads for everybody?
I was kind of the face of the company. They sent me to all the networking events and out agents, and I did pretty much everything other than sign the 1003. So.
Got it. So you don't lack any socialization skills. You don't lack any ability to talk to people. You're probably perfect for this position.
Yeah. It's honestly, cool. It's a bit outside my comfort zone in that position, but it's something I've done for quite a while. So I'm very highly money motivated. So I kind of work my way through it.
Okay. What part of it are you hung up on? When you talk about going to network events and doing all that stuff, you don't feel comfortable in front of clients?
No, it's not that. It's I think by nature I'm a little bit more reserved in a social setting. So it is outside my comfort zone to reach out and approach people. But one-on-one with agents, it's no problem at all.
Right.
I'm not really having any trouble on that side.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that this class, I really do hope that this class, at least over the next couple weeks, is really a fundamental on understanding the two different, I call them categories in what this business is about. You have the product side of the business, which that's not a piece of it that I'm going to get into. You will learn the product of what Success offers and through Brian's tutelage and so forth. But I spend a lot of time focusing on the process, because I truly believe that the one thing that makes us unique and the one thing that makes us different than any other loan officer in our community is really just a simple thing that makes us all different, and that is what comes out of our mouth. How we articulate our value, how we articulate our worth to people, and understanding where we are coming from makes us unique. And most people don't gravitate towards the decision of buying a home or using a specific lender because of facts and figures. Those are the numbers that are tossed around. Those are the things that everybody talks about. But more often than not, people are driven to make a decision based on emotion. And it's a scientifically proven fact that the human mind has a part of it called the limbic part. And the limbic part is it's where love and our feelings and our and it doesn't define things because it's all built on emotion. It's one of those where, why do you say you love your wife? Why do you say you love your kids? Why do you say you feel a certain way? It's hard sometimes to put that into words because it's not that part of our brain that thinks like that. The neurocortex is the part of our brain that's black and white. But when you talk about people making decisions, it's very rarely ever made based on facts and figures. It's usually based on emotion. People buy homes and choose to use certain people to help them buy homes based on how we as the providers make them feel, how we empathize, how we relate, how we connect with them. That's where it comes from. It's that trust factor, that feeling of safety and security and a relationship that's created. And so what we spend a lot of time focusing on in this industry is a lot about the commoditization of our business, the rates, the fees, the times, the media and all that other stuff. I don't spend a lot of time on that, not because it doesn't work, but more or less because I didn't find it truly successful in my practice. And I'll get into a little bit about what my background is here in a little bit. But what we spend a lot of time on in this class is really understanding the foundation of why you do certain things so that when you sit down with somebody, you can talk to them about why you do it. And once they understand why you do what you do, they listen a lot more. They don't just hear the words that you say, they listen, and you make that connection. And that's what draws people into you, and then they're able to really understand your value and what you have to offer, and you're not a commodity at that point anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what we're after in this class is really going to be structured around understanding what I call the principles of referability. That's where we're going to spend the first couple of weeks, and then after that we're going to get into what's called the lead tracker part of this program. And the lead tracker program is once I teach you how to go out there and articulate your value, and you're able to start talking to people and feel comfortable asking for help and leveraging those relationships because you do provide a high level of value, then you can start tracking your activity so we can hone in on your strengths and weaknesses. Once we spend the time honing in on your strengths and weaknesses, I can take you down whatever path that you feel most comfortable with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, I know Brian's joining the call. Brian, are you on the phone?
Yeah, sure am. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good. Are we waiting for one more? Larry?
You know what? I sent him back. He said he's coming on, so I'm not sure. But you know what? You know, let's roll, man. I want to honor Scott's time and all that. You know, your time.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's start with let's just start with the basic principles of what I want to work on. Hey, Scott, tell me a little bit about what your goals and aspirations are. I know you said earlier that you were money motivated, but tell me what that means. I mean, do you have a vision of what you want your business to look like in the next 60 days, in the next 120 days, and then within the next year?
And it's kind of changed a little bit since the last couple of weeks. We went to that event a couple of weeks ago with Carl White, and you know, it's as far as numbers, I think in the next 60 days, I want to be between 6 and 10 loans a month.
Okay.
And then 120 days, I'd say consistently 10, and then in the next year, 15 to 20.
Okay. So do you have any idea of what that requires you to do in the next 60 days in order to get to the point where you're closing 6 to 10 loans a month?
I haven't broken down exact numbers, but I mean, it's more referral partners, and you know, obviously, so how many that is, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, so I think for the fact that you're the one that's on the call, I'm going to cater our conversation specifically to yours, to what your needs and goals are. So let's talk a little bit about what do you think is the best approach on where you're going to get your business? Do you think it's realtor partners? Do you think it's database? Do you think it's past client database? Do you think it's affiliated relationships? Where do you see yourself getting a majority of your business from?
I'd say realtors.
Okay, so do you have any hesitation going out there and knocking on doors and meeting agents? I mean, if we look at what Thor's Hammer recommends, you're talking to 30 agents every single week, 12 weeks in a row until you find the ones that rise to the top, and then you build a relationship with them, and then you keep filling that, you know, you just keep filling that funnel until you have the referral partners that you need.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the best approach for me.
Okay. Okay. So what do you say to a realtor when you first sit down with them? You know, when you pick up the phone and it's an agent that has no idea who you are, what is your platform? Like, what do you talk about when you sit down with an agent for the first time?
Well, the initial phone call when I'm trying to get the appointment with them, I've been saying, you know, I've been seeing your name all over the place, and it seems like you're doing a really great job. I'd love to buy you a coffee and just take a few minutes to kind of find out what it is you're doing that's making me see your name all over the place. And it seems to have worked pretty well. And then when I get to the coffee appointment, I'm asking basically all about them and their family and their kids. And
yeah, you're frogging them.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And then it's turned into the last couple of the end of the conversation that they've just, you know, come out and asked me about, you know, what we do, and I say that we communicate well, we close on time, and we follow up on leads, and then we talk about some of the programs that Brian's implemented, you know, the offer accepted and loan concierge.
Mm-hmm.
It's
okay.
I feel like the conversation well.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I apologize. I thought you were done.
No, I feel like the conversations have gone well. You know, realistically, though, I'm looking at the list from the people I've met with. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 people I've met with. Only 3 have referred anything to me yet.
Okay.
So,
and of the 3 that have referred you, what are the qualities of the lead?
The one of them has been absolutely terrible. It's been, I think, 9 leads that were all bad credit.
Right.
And then the other 2 have been some bad, some good. The one has been sending quite a few. So there's been, you know, bad ones here and there, but he's really strong with the lender handoff. And and I told him not to send me the 500 credit score leads, and he understands that. So.
Okay. So if you were to sit down with your agent and you were to ask your agent this question, and this is where I really want to start our entire process. Why should a realtor choose to use you? What is it about you? And let's be honest with ourselves. When you sit in front of a realtor, just like you're sitting in front of a realtor or they're sitting in front of you, there's that question that everybody thinks in their head, but nobody or most people are afraid to ask. And that is, why should I choose to use you, Scott? What makes you so special that I should eliminate all the other options of all the other lenders in the marketplace just to work with only you? Because that's really what we're there for. We're really there for to develop a relationship, and it is a relationship. It isn't a sales pitch. It's a relationship. Why should I choose to use you? And that's the same question your clients have with you when they sit down in front of you or you're on the phone with them. That's the same question you should have with your realtor partners as you're trying to vet them to determine who's the right person to work for. And that's the same question that you used when you spoke to Mr. Heckman. When you spoke to Brian about what it is that you were trying to do, you in the back of your head were asking yourself, why should I partner up with Brian? What is it about him that makes him unique? And he was able to communicate his value to you. But my question to you is that question something that's brought up very forward at the beginning of every conversation that you have with a realtor partner? Do you bring that conversation up? Do you set a platform to explain to them why they should choose to work with you? And let me tell you a little story about this first, because maybe it'll drive home the point. You're married, right, Scott?
Yep.
Okay. If your wife walks into the room and says, hey, honey, how do I look? And you say, wow, you look fabulous. Or your wife walks into the room and you go, wow, honey, you look fabulous. One is solicited, one is unsolicited. What's the value of having an unsolicited compliment versus a solicited compliment?
Yeah, I think it means more.
It does mean more, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a significantly different emotional feeling when somebody notices you before they have to ask for it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So let me take it another step farther. You walk into a Home Depot, and I know I've been into Home Depot 100 times. I know I'm sure you haven't, as well as Brian. If you walk into Home Depot and you have a project that you want to do and you're not really sure on how it goes, when you walk into Home Depot and you meet the greeter and you say, I'm here because I need to build a birdhouse, and the person who greets you goes, oh my gosh, I've built 100 of those. Let me take you and show you what the best way to build this birdhouse is. And he takes you through Home Depot. During that process, if you trust him or her and you believe that what they're doing is showing you the best way, what are they essentially doing by helping you build a birdhouse? What are they taking off your plate?
The unknown, trying to figure out how to do it. I mean,
right. They're minimizing your stress, right?
Yeah.
They're minimizing your anxiety, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you walk in and somebody takes your hand and says, I got this, I'm going to show you the best way to build a birdhouse, let me take you down through Home Depot and show you all the different screws, the boards, the hinges, and everything you're going to need. While they're walking you through the process and they're grabbing stuff off the shelves and they're grabbing stuff off the aisles, are you concerned with price at that point?
No, that's a good point.
Are you more concerned with the emotional well-being that you finally don't have to feel so afraid to do this because somebody is going to take you through this process and show you the best way to build it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's infinitely different when you walk into a store and you're not greeted and you have to figure it out yourself. There's a Menards here. I don't know if you guys have one here in Florida or not, but here there's this Menards, and it's probably 3 or 4 times as big. It's like a Home Depot and a Walmart, produced a child. It's literally like that. It really is over the top, and so you can get lost in this place, and everybody seems to have a job to do, but there's nobody who really reaches out to you and says, hey, let me help you. What can I do to show you where to go? And I've been in the place probably a dozen times, and I've had one instance where that's taken place. Now, it isn't that I didn't know how to do the project, but I didn't know where everything was in the store. And so it puts my anxiety up, it makes me feel a little bit stressed, and it gives me a little bit of, it makes me a little bit nervous that I'm going to miss something. And it's frustrating to stand in an aisle of all these nails and screws and not see the one that you want and have to go track somebody down. The point of the story is when you're sitting down with a realtor for the very first time, you're foolish if you don't bring that conversation up and table it. Because the fact that you're able to bring that conversation up instantaneously does a couple things to the psychology of the person you're speaking to. One, it makes them feel like you're really connected to them, because in their mind they're like, wow, he already knows what I'm thinking. Isn't that what we just got done saying about your wife walking into the room? It's an unsolicited conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you bring it up and they're thinking it, it takes them and it brings their anxiety levels down, because you know what they're thinking before they even have to bring it up. I can guarantee you that any of your conversations with your realtors, not one single time, and correct me if I'm wrong, not one single time did either you or the agent bring up the fact of why should you use me.
Yeah, that's right.
You probably frogged them, and they probably frogged you back, but I guarantee you nobody leaned over to the other person and said, let me kind of tell you why I do this and what it is about me that makes me really unique and why you should use me. Because then I think, in all fairness, before we get into everything that you do, Mr. Realtor, and all the cool things that you're capable of doing and how powerful you are, I think it's only fair that you get to know a little bit about me, only because once you put that out there and you make that connection and you build that rapport, they're done hearing what you have to say. They're truly then listening to what you have to say. And let's be clear, the message that Brian preaches and the message that Brian has built his entire business model around requires the agent to really listen to what you have to say, because if they're listening, they'll appreciate it. They'll see the value in it. But if you're talking to somebody and they only hear what you're saying, they're not really grasping the benefit of why you do things and why the Heckman Group does it the way that they do it. So the whole message there is we have to first work on really a basic fundamental understanding of when you sit down with a realtor, you have a chance to create a first impression. You have a chance to open up their eyes and frame you in a way that nobody else has ever done for them when it comes to a loan officer. And let's be clear about this. I believe that a realtor probably has had at least, if they've been in the business for more than 5 years, has had at least 15 to 50 interactions with different loan officers through their dealings. Would that be a fair guesstimate, Brian? Would you think that 15 to 50 LOs is what an average agent probably experiences in a 5-year career?
Oh yeah, easy, easy.
What do you think the general consensus of most realtors' view of loan officers are?
If you're asking me, I'm saying negative, idiots, don't follow, communicate, don't know what they're doing.
Correct. So when you sit down with an agent for the very first time, guys, what do you think they're putting you into a box as?
That's a box.
Let me say it to you in a different way. We have all had experiences in our lives that formulate opinions about certain things. You can think about a teacher. You can think about a police officer. You can think about a bus driver, a semi-truck driver. You can talk about motorcyclists. I mean, as a motorcycle rider myself, I don't like semi-truck drivers. I just don't. As a car enthusiast, I'm not a big fan of motorcyclists when I'm not on one. And it all has to do with my perception and my experiences in my life. The problem is that when we show up to a conversation for somebody that has already had a previous experience with somebody that does what we do, they've already framed us in a positive and or negative light. And let's fact of conversation, most of the time the realtors already have a negative perception of who we are. So instead of getting into what it is that the Heckman Group does, because they're not listening to you yet, instead of starting to talk about what their life is like, because at that point you're working on building a relationship, but it's not quite there yet. Instead of working on anything other than framing ourselves in a positive light, we jump right into what we're comfortable talking about and letting that person talk about themselves and talking about our products and our programs and the way we do business. I want to just tweak that a little bit because I think those conversations are vital, but I feel like one of the greatest missteps that we make is that we don't take the time to put ourselves into a position that differentiates us from every other loan officer that's knocked on their door. And if we don't want to be a commodity, if we don't want to be treated like somebody who will only handle negative credit, somebody who will only handle the junk client, somebody who will only handle one lead every couple months, we need to spend more time trying to instill on them who we are and what our value is, and that's done by reframing. So let me tell you a little bit about how I ran my business. So to give you guys a little backstory, I got into the business in 1995, right out of college. Worked for a loan officer that was a really big producer for from about 1995 to about 2005. And I basically became a loan officer, built my practice purely on relationships, purely on referrals. I didn't do any type of marketing or advertising. All I did was leverage relationships with the people that I knew, liked, and trust. Not because I couldn't go out there and build relationships with realtors. I just didn't have a positive opinion of realtors. I didn't feel like realtors really understood how business worked. I didn't believe that most realtors were referable people, meaning I didn't believe that I couldn't ask a realtor for a referral because most agents themselves aren't referable people. Does that make sense to you guys when I say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how can I ask somebody to refer me when, in all fairness, they don't even know how to make themselves referable, which means that the clients that they pass out to me probably aren't going to be high quality leads to begin with, because most of the agents aren't referable in their own business practices. And so going through that evolution, I decided in 2005 to open up my own company. And I ran my own company for 4 years. I was in 3 different states. I was building a successful business. And in 2007 and 8, the market took a tank. And by 2009, I saw the writing on the wall. And I merged my practice into Success Mortgage Partners. In 2013, I did a volume of about 15 million. I had 2 people on my team. I had referred out 25 purchase transactions to 5 of my referrers that I only worked with because 63% of my business came from my past clients and current clients. What that told me was that I was more of the, I was the dog that was wagging the tail. I never believed that my realtors were in control of my economic reality. I took control over my economic reality because I framed my business the way that I felt like I needed to help ensure that I was the one that was controlling the transaction, because in all fairness, we are the ones that are in control. The realtors would like to think they are because we come to them asking them for leads. The truth of the matter is that you only have to do that for a short period of time before you can start creating your own revenue stream and your own volume based on how you leverage your relationships. And it all starts with that initial conversation on how you frame yourself in front of your realtors. And so my conversation with my agents went very similar to this. Scott, thank you for taking the time to meeting with me today, buddy. I greatly appreciate it. I hear great things about you in the marketplace. I know you guys are doing really, really good things. What I really want to do is, before we get started, is really just kind of tell you a little bit about me and why I know I'm the best option for your clients. And it really starts with a fundamental understanding of what I believe in, and that is I believe in what's called the triangle of trust. The triangle of trust for me is a simple philosophy, and at this point I would draw a piece of, get out a piece of paper and draw, 3 circles. I would say, Scott, you have a chance to work with me because Brian Heckman has said great things about me and said that I'd be the perfect person to partner up with. Well, you and Brian have an amazing relationship, and I know that because there's no way that you would be talking to me if Brian and you didn't have a great, healthy relationship. You must respect him a ton, which means that he's probably gone above and beyond to try and pour himself into you to get you to see how valuable his relationship with you can be. Now, I have a great relationship with Brian. Otherwise, Brian wouldn't be referring you to me. I know that everything that I've done every single day of my life when I'm working with Brian is centered around making sure that his reputation, his wants, goals, needs, and desires are at the forefront of every conversation that I have. And so what does that mean to you? What it means to you is every time that you and I have a conversation, my number one priority is to ensure that whatever happens between you and I, that you go back to Brian and say thank you. If I'm able to get you to do that, three things have happened. I've solidified my relationship with you at the highest level because I'm not looking at you as a transaction anymore. I'm looking at you as a catapult to help me build and maintain my relationship with Brian, but more importantly, I'm eventually going to create you to become an advocate of my business much the same way that Brian is. So everything I've done in relationship to my process of how I close loans is centered around one simple philosophy. I don't believe that I'm the best option to get a mortgage through for everybody, but I do believe through and through that I'm the best option for any one person to talk to about what their options are as it relates to getting a mortgage. Meaning, I would love to help you get a loan, but I may not be the best choice for you. But because Brian means so much to me, I promise you that I won't steer you down a path that isn't right for you. And so I want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you want, what your goals, needs, and desires are. Because at the end of that, if I'm the right person for the job, rest assured I'm going to tell you that I am because I'm more concerned about what Brian Heckman's going to hear from you later. And if I'm not, I will tell you that I'm not and help you down the path that will get you to where you need to be. But you have to make a promise to me. Scott, you have to promise that you're going to go back to Brian and say thank you. That's how my business has been built over the last 20 years, Scott. That's the reason that most realtors want to work with me, because they have never partnered up with a loan officer that understands the value of the relationship. And if you become an advocate of my business and you refer me somebody, and it's somebody that I can give back to Brian, don't you think that's a huge benefit to Brian? And well as you, because what's going to happen is the client that you refer to me is going to come back to you and say thank you. And I already know that when Brian gets a call from you, he's going to love that call because most people don't ever call and say thank you for referring somebody. And it's a great feeling to know that you helped out somebody you cared about. Now, I can assure you that as we go through the process, that's my number one priority. And if I can make you an advocate of my business, I can guarantee you that whoever you refer to me, you're going to get the same feeling that Brian's going to get when you pick up the phone and call him. So is that something that you're comfortable with? Does that make sense to you on how I choose to do business? And at that point, most of the agents go, yeah, it really does. So, Mr. Scott, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why should I want to work with you? What is it about you that makes my business better because you and I are partners? So, hey, Scott, now this would be how I start off every realtor conversation. How is that presentation different than what you're currently doing?
It's completely different.
Brian, what about you? Brian, what do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. And Scott, that's what we talked about. Like, our number one job has become, like, how do we get the realtor, really the core of what we're talking about, Doug, is like how do we educate these realtors to refer us? Because a lot of them, they have no idea how to refer us. So that's why this stuff is so, in my opinion, just so freaking crucial right now. To plug
and the reason most realtors don't refer you is because A, they're not referable people to begin with, and B, they don't listen to who you are. See, you can't get somebody to refer you if they don't know who you are. And if the perception of most loan officers is negative, why in God's green earth would they refer you if they don't trust you? And so the whole imagery, the whole presentation that I just gave you basically answers the question of what's in it for them. It was never, the whole presentation, if you really, and I'm recording this, so I'll send the replay back to you. When you listen to the presentation, there's not a single I statement there. It's all about how Brian benefits and eventually how you benefit. And what you're doing at that point is psychologically building a relationship through trust and understanding through a story that resonates with them. And when you do that, that puts you into the category of being referable because now they understand why they should refer you and the benefit of referring you without using all the adjectives that everybody else always says. I'm always available. I'm 24/7. I work really hard. I'm always talking. I will always communicate with you. I always give you updates. Those are great, but they're facts. There's no emotion. There's no relationship in those statements. The statement that I gave you through the triangle of trust that I use is key to getting people to realize how powerful your message is. And I give you, and I guarantee you, without question, that presentation has never been had with any realtor that you'll ever run into. Guaranteed. But yet every single person that listens to it gets it. Scott, did it create an image for you? Did it help you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you hear when you heard that? I mean, tell me a little bit about what you got out of that presentation.
It's just very different in the, like you said, it seems more psychological to me, where I really like the idea of making it so, I want to do such a good job that you go back to the realtor and tell them how good I did, and it was a lot to take in, so forgive me, I'm still trying to kind of process it.
No. But the general feeling that you got is you can see me as a loan officer differently than the way you see yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you and I were to sit. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking of the conversations I've had, and I know Brian's a lot more experienced in this area than I am, but being with agents, a lot of the times I felt like I've left, and or in the conversation, it's even though the things that we offer are really great, and a lot of them are very unique, it's still, I feel like a lot of them think it's just the thing that it's just another gimmick almost, and it's just because I haven't mastered in the way to present it properly, I think, but I like that this is another way to connect with them as well.
Well, I'm going to tell you that the way you presented your message about the Heckman Group is 100% fine. I'm not saying anything that you presented was inaccurate or wasn't even perfect. What I think you're missing, and that goes back to the misstep, is I don't think you're laying down, or most LOs don't lay down the proper foundation to get a realtor to truly understand. And so the choice is, we have to decide if we want to have that conversation with the agent that we're sitting in front of or not. And let's be honest, not every agent's going to want to work with us. And we sure the heck don't want to work with every agent. And so the question that I always had, and why I only chose to work with 5 realtors through a majority of my career, was because I didn't believe most realtors got the concept of what it meant to be referable. And if I don't want to work with an agent, it's usually because I don't believe that they knew what it meant to be referable, which means that they would just throw leads at me. And let's be clear about that. A referral and a lead are totally different as it relates to what we get from agents. Agreed?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we talk about getting a realtor to refer us, we have to first plant that seed to make them realize who we are and the value that we bring to the table. See, a realtor that sees that every time they refer us, they're going to get a call from their client that says thank you, that becomes an addictive feeling. If I'm passing out 5 leads a week, and I'm getting a phone call from 5 people a week back saying, oh my God, Brian's awesome, thank you so much, he's taking great care of me, man, that's a feeling that I love. And who do you think is going to be at the top of my list every time a new client comes to me? Do you think I'm going to worry about referring it to the in-house lender? Do you think I'm going to refer it to somebody who's never gotten me a client to call me back and say thank you? That's powerful emotional deposits. That helps the realtor validate their decision to work with me, and it helps further the relationship that the realtor has with the client. And now the realtor has built their own triangle of trust. And here's the really cool and interesting part of it. Once you learn how to build that emotional connection, you can start teaching your realtors how to have those same kind of conversations with their clients. And if you teach a realtor how to become more referable, there's not a single transaction that'll decide whether or not that realtor refers you again or not. I promise you. I've had many transactions with my realtors blow up, and they still refer me, and they still recommend me, and I still have great relationships with them. Why? because I've built their businesses parallel to mine. And so this entire class for the next X amount of weeks is all built on the fundamentals of something very, very simple. And that is, I don't believe that you can go in there and convince a realtor to use you consistently, predictably, and have a real relationship with them. Because let's be honest, a real relationship allows you to go through the ups and downs of a transaction unless you're able to create that emotional bond with them by explaining to them in an artfully crafted way the value of what's in it for them by partnering with me. And the best way that I can explain it would be, Scott, if you and I were going to be competing against the same realtor for business, in my head, I believe I have a better advantage in getting that realtor to work with me. Not because you have better products, programs, rates, and communication. You probably are more articulate than I am. But my ability to create that emotional connection with them is really where they go back to and go, okay, I get it. He's the guy that met me at Home Depot and took me around and showed me how to build my tree house or my birdhouse when I didn't know what I was doing. He minimized my expectations, and I'm forever indebted to him for that. That's the conversation that I think you're missing. And if you're able to figure out how to do that, and I'll coach you on the ways to do that, I think your conversations around what the Heckman Group provides will be met with significantly better results because they're going to understand your why.
Yeah.
You follow me on that?
Yeah, I do. It makes sense.
So what I want to work on over the next week, actually I'm gone the rest of this week, so what we'll do is we'll schedule another call for next Tuesday. But what I would like to do between now and next Tuesday is a really simple but difficult assignment, and that is I want you to re-listen to the conversation that I just had, and you can choose to repeat it verbatim and memorize it, or you can choose to create it and put it in your own words. But what I want you to do is I want you to practice that conversation with whomever and start using it on a daily basis with your realtor partners as you meet with them. And I want you to do that because I'm not expecting you to have perfection, but what I'm expecting you to do is to start mentally preparing yourself to make sure that that's the reason why you're meeting with your agents, because they're not going to give you a referral at that moment. You're trying to create a first impression. You're going in there to try to get them to see you as a positive beacon of light, as opposed to what Brian described earlier as being stupid, inaccurate, lazy, uncommunicative, and all that other stuff. You are fighting an uphill battle the moment that a realtor picks up the phone. So the only way that you can create a better image for yourself is to choose to use certain words to describe your value. And that's best done in a story much the same way that I described to you. And it works really, really well, because I promise you there will be no agents that have ever heard that before, but they'll feel totally different than what you've been presenting up to this point. And the second part is the really good agents, the really good, smart, relationship-based realtors will gravitate towards that conversation because they'll see the value in that. And if you want to teach them how to say that in front of their clients and work with them and mentor them through these classes, you can then become a mentor to them. So you'll always have a follow-up conversation or always be able to provide them with value every time you pick up the phone, because you'll have something to give them. Okay. That's what this class offers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks is really work on that fundamental piece, because I honestly believe Thor's Hammer is a great process, no question. But if you don't like doing it, it isn't because nobody likes talking to people. It's because they don't feel like they have any value when they pick up the phone and talk to people. There are certain people like Brian and some of the others that I know that don't have a problem picking up the phone and BSing their way through the conversation, and they're really good at that because they're extremely charismatic and they just find that way to connect with people. Some people are gifted like that. Brian, I would say that Kevin and Scotty are the best at it. I'm not as good at that, so I require a little bit more scientific or more relationship or psychological approach, and that is understanding the psychology of what people are looking for when they want to build a relationship with somebody or build a bond, especially when it comes to these kind of transactions. So That's what we're going to spend the first couple of weeks on, which is really building that foundation so I can teach you what to say and how to say it and why you're going to say it, so that when we start tracking our leads, we're going to be able to start formulating plans on how we approach our pillars of business. And there are, in my business, I had 4. I had past clients, I had current clients, I had my realtors, and I had my affiliated relationships, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, and so on. So in your business, once you know what your value is and how you can present yourself, that's the key piece in leveraging the relationship, whether it be a realtor or a client, and pretty soon you'll start creating what I call raving fans or advocates in your business, because I believe that Brian's process is pretty spot on and is really proactive. If you can partner that up with the conversation style and the words that I'm going to teach you how to use, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because you're not going to have any issue talking to anybody, because you're going to know what your value is, and they're going to know that you know that, and they're going to gravitate towards you and want to be a part of your business. And so they're going to want to refer you, and they're going to give you quality leads, because that's what you're about.
Okay. That sounds great.
Brian, what do you think so far, buddy?
That's great. This stuff fits in total with exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and
This
Scott, Scott, we'll talk later today, but like this is, man, Doug's gonna do way better at this stuff than I am. Like, Doug, you just hit it, like the psychology, like the words we use. So many, like Scott, you're gonna start hearing this. Like realtors get all these people that are calling them, and man, they're all going one direction, and we come in with a completely different mindset, different words from a totally different direction. It's worked out really, really well. So this is fitting perfectly in. Thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, no worries. Let me just leave you with this little statement. There's only one thing that separates you and I from every other lender in the community. There's only one thing, and that's what comes out of our mouth. So I honestly believe this through and through. Once you understand what's in your heart, your mind will then take that feeling and articulate it, and then what comes out of your mouth is what makes you unique. I always believe that you have to start with the why. I care more about the referral source. I care more about getting people to want to see me for who I am. I want people to be validated by their relationship with me, and that's what drove my business for 20 years. I didn't care if I got the deal or not. I cared that the person that was confident enough to refer me knew how much I appreciated it, and I didn't want it to come from me. I wanted it to come from the person that they referred to me. And that simple message built the triangle of trust practice that I had. That was the staple of every conversation that I had with every financial planner, every attorney, every CPA, every client, and every realtor. And that produced a result where I was getting 63% of my closed loan volume, and in 2013, 15 million came from my past clients and current clients because of that simple philosophy. Last week alone, and I haven't originated a loan since 2013, I had 5 referrals that I passed on to my team. 5 referrals from past clients who either referred back themselves or one of their family members to me. I haven't made one outbound call. I haven't done one piece of mailing or marketing to my database, but yet people still remember that my business is 100% referred. And that is a key piece that I want you to realize. This class will teach you how to do it, but you've got to implement it into your business. And if you commit to it, you will have an influx of business from multiple sources, so that if your realtors are too busy or they don't have enough inventory, you're going to have sources of business out there that are going to be advocating you from your past clients, your current clients, and other affiliated relationships, which helps eliminate the ebbs and flows, and more importantly, eliminates your constant reliance on realtors to work to satisfy your financial needs. And to be honest, guys, and this stays between us, I would never want a realtor managing my financial life, ever. I wouldn't recommend it.
I agree with that.
Makes sense? So what I'm going to do is this, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the call today. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to transfer this recording to a link, and then when it's done, I'll send it out. Actually, Brian, I'll send it to you, and then you can pass it out to everybody. But I would like to schedule this call again for next Tuesday at 10 a.m. So we'll spend another hour or so on the call talking about yet another strategy and a little bit about how you guys are handling this conversation, because I really want you guys over the next week to practice this. It has to be conversational. It can't be scripted. It has to come from the heart, because otherwise the realtor is going to feel like you're just pitching them. And people are smart. They know when you're being genuine and when you're not. And so it's important that you realize the power of what this message is, because until you say it, you're always going to leave your realtor meetings feeling a little empty or like you missed out. And it's because you didn't set the proper stage and frame yourself in the way that you wanted them to see you.
Hey, do you have this stuff like in any sort of PowerPoint, like written down, or do you just kind of done this enough where you just kind of roll with it?
Buddy, I just roll with it.
I figured that. I like it. I like it.
I wish I had a PowerPoint, but in order to put this in PowerPoint, I'd actually have to hire somebody to kind of take all the presentations that I've done. And I know there's services out there that do that, but I really do speak from the heart. And so every time I say it, it comes out a little bit differently, but I think it has more impact because it kind of is tailored to the people that are listening. So I wouldn't say this to a realtor or to a loan officer that's been in the business for 20 years. I'm saying this to Scott because he's been in the business for 6 months and he doesn't have some other habits that I would try to have to crack. So it really just is, you know, I mean, I could put it in a PowerPoint, but it would take me some time.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. So you're going to send me the link then, right? And then I'll get it out.
You betcha.
Link. Awesome.
Yep, and the idea is listen to it if you want. It doesn't matter to me if you don't. It doesn't matter to me if you take the message and really believe it. But by the time we start tracking your leads, I'll know how good of a job you're doing, because I will tell you that in order to close 6 to 10 loans a month, you have to be hitting about a 30 to 35% conversion rate, which means that you're going to need to generate about 30 to 40 leads a month coming into your specific business. And the only way that you're going to get to 30 to 40 leads a month is having the confidence to ask people for help and to be able to ask the right people for help. Otherwise, you're going to beat your head up against the wall dealing with crappy realtors, crappy leads, and you're going to get burnt out. And your goal of closing 6 to 10 and then 10 or more, then 20 or more is never going to come to fruition, because you're never going to find the excitement in what it is that you're trying to do. And the realtors that are going to be referring you or the other referable partners, they're just not going to get it, and you're just going to get lost in the mass of all the other LOs that are out there trying to sell them. I guarantee it.
Hey, Doug, and this is great stuff. When we talked back a few months ago, we didn't have the conversion. I didn't have the exact conversion ratios. I remember being like pretty frustrated about it because we have, like in my stuff, and we're setting up Scott's Jungo. So Scott, like it's more of a beast to get all the stuff transferred over in how we're doing the Jungo stuff. But the tracking sheet that you're going to use, Scott, what I would strongly encourage you to do is track it how Doug's got it, kind of like offline, so to speak, on a sheet for right now.
Yes.
Because the cool thing that's going to happen here is this is all brought into like a mathematical equation and like almost like a science. And that conversion rate, the 30 to 35%. So right now, when we last tracked this over a 90-day period, I think it was a month ago, we were at 45% conversion rate. But then what happened, Doug, is then we fell off to, I think it was 31 point something percent from those 45% to actually in pipeline and deals. But Scott's seeing the same thing too. That's going to be a little bit skewed just because, some people literally they make 15 different offers before they finally get into contract.
Right.
And so it's like what we're doing in our Jungo now is we're going to go back and we're going to look at like the previous 90 days deals, the next 90 days, which of those are in closed out, knowing that sometimes it's going to take a 90-day incubation period on these things. But the cool thing, Scott, for you is that's all we're doing is looking at how do we get 30 to 40 leads per month. And I know that the way that we're doing this stuff in our system, you're going to get the conversion ratios. It's just a matter of how fast you get these realtors to basically understand that they cannot send you garbage deals. They can send, some other loser their garbage deal. And this process that we're going to walk through is going to help you kind of map out what to say, knowing exactly and orchestrating what the realtor is going to say so that you can open them up to basically, do you want some help with that? Yeah, I sure do, man. Perfect. Here's what you can say instead of that. Doug, what exactly do you want us to do before next week? You just want us to, like, what is it, the homework stuff?
I want to have both Larry and Scott practice the presentation, because in all fairness, you're going to have this conversation probably 50 times before it becomes conversational, for it to be able to just roll off your tongue. And I will be more than happy to work with you guys outside of this call on an individual basis and really kind of break down the components of it so that you understand what it is that's being said here, why it's being said here, and then how it ties into the bigger picture. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, because if you just take the words and you start to speak it, you'll start to understand how well it resonates with people. I just want you guys to be able to have a conversation with me next week around a message that you have about why realtors should work with you. Truly.
Got it.
And the why part of why they work with you, if you listen to the message, not once did I mention the word mortgage. Not once did I mention timelines. Not once did I mention rates and fees. That's the key piece of this. You're not talking about the mortgage industry when you talk about why somebody should work with you. You're talking about what the benefit is to them.
Yeah.
Cool. Powerful stuff.
That resonates?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, guys. I will send you guys the replay here in a little bit. You guys have a great rest of your week. I'm actually driving down to Florida tomorrow to go to a wedding in, I think it's over on the east side, over by West Palm Beach. So if you guys need anything, I'll be in the car for the next 2 days. Otherwise, I'll chat with you guys next week. I'll send out the calendar invite probably Monday when I return.
Sweet. And just say FYI, I'm going to be on a cruise next week, so I won't be there. But I'll if you want to send that replay, Doug, I'll catch up.
Yeah, I'll send it to you here in a little bit, Brian. Hey, Brian, can you do me a favor, buddy? Can you do me a huge favor? Can you do me a favor? Could you reach out to Kevin and just tell him, tell him what your thoughts were about today's conversation, and really just kind of relay to him how he was the one that kind of steered you back to me. And that means the world to me, and I want Kevin to know how much I take, how serious I take this, and how much I want the success for Larry and Scott. It would mean the world to me if you go back to him and say thank you.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. Yep.
See how it works? See how easy that is?
That's great, man. I love it.
Have a great week, guys.
Bye, brother. Hey, drive safe, man.
Thank you. All take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.